It's the end of the pre-selection season, the last weekend with national finals. So the last episode of Scout Around for this season. 4 national finals last Saturday. 4 countries that picked their entry almost on the last day. And we will talk them through with you. We'll start in Lithuania. Many shows we have had seen the last couple of weeks. And in the end we have a winner, a clear winner. The jury favorite and the televote favorite, Vuzemark. Reign of Revolution is the song for Lithuania in Kiev. And we will see how it will go for them. Aiste Pilvelite was doing very well last year in the contest. This time she did it again with I'm Like a Wolf, an Aminata penned song. She came in second place, was the runner-up in Lithuania. Sweden, of course, picked their song through Melodifestivalen, the big final in Stockholm. And we have a winner in Sweden. It's Robin Bengtsson and I Can't Go On. And I will talk about that choice for Sweden with someone who is from Sweden. Ali Lindo has been living there for many years now and has followed Melodifestivalen for us many years in a row as well. And we can say, Ali, it was a feast again to watch the Swedish pre-selection.
Yeah, it was quite interesting to watch. Pretty exciting stuff.
Especially the voting sequence. It was so tight, so exciting. And Robin won it in the end.
Yes, that was very interesting to watch. You know, watching the international jury's results come in first, you could tell that Robin really had a very solid lead there. He ended up with 96 points from the jury, so that was a pretty big lead for him. But then it became really close when the televoting results came in, and the public really went very hard for Nano, but unfortunately Robin already had a pretty solid lead from the jury votes.
Yeah, and there's some criticism now, I understand, in Swedish media that, let's say, the foreign juries, the international juries, they picked an artist that the Swedish public actually didn't want to go.
Yeah, there's a lot of that now, both in online forums and in newspapers. You see a lot of criticism that the international juries have too much influence over the selection process and that this should be something made by the Swedish people for the Swedish people. So there's a bit of controversy surrounding the results right now.
What do you think? Is this the best method still for Sweden to pick their entry or not?
I think it is still the best method because one thing that international juries give you is that you get a perspective into what the rest of Europe is looking for. So that gives you an advantage when you're selecting an artist that ultimately is competing on an international stage and is competing in front of all of Europe. So despite the controversy, I think that this is still the best method, but I'm sure there are quite a few others that would disagree with me there.
It's a good song, but it's a great act probably that has won in Melodifestivalen.
Definitely. I think the performance is really what pushed Robin over the edge. Now, personally, I'm a big Nano fan, and I really love Hold On. It's a great song. Yeah. But I think Robin had more of a complete package. He had the performance, he had the well-cut suit, and he's good-looking. So I think that works out for him.
He also does something. It's so interesting when you think you have seen it all at Eurovision. Everything has been thought of and done before. And then all of a sudden, it's so easy when you think of it now. He starts his song backstage. It has never been done before.
Yeah, and I think that was something I wasn't expecting, and I don't think anybody was really expecting it. But you're right. As soon as he started off backstage, you start thinking, of course, why haven't people done this before? That's a great idea. Plus, you throw in some crazy dance moves on a treadmill, and you've got a full performance.
Melodifestivalen is extremely popular in Sweden. I believe almost half of the country is watching as the votes came in last night.
Yes, and actually, last night we broke a record for the amount of votes that were sent in. So that is, I guess, an indicator of just how popular it is. And actually, throughout the entire semifinal process and the second chance round, each week was a new voting record. So I think that's something that says a lot about how much Swedes are invested in this show.
We know that. We've been to Sweden a couple of years already, of course. Content is in Malmö and in Stockholm. But how is that possible? The numbers are so huge.
I think it's a combination of how Swedes really embrace the concept of Eurovision. And I think something that's important with SVT that they get very right is they take Eurovision seriously, but they don't take themselves too seriously. And I think that's been a winning recipe with Melodifestivalen, is that it's fun to watch, and it's a fun way of keeping people engaged in what's going on and keeping them connected to the idea and the vision of Eurovision.
A bit more information about Robin Bengtsson dan, the winner. He started his career in Idols Sweden, I believe.
Yes, he did. He came in third place in Idol a few years ago. So I guess you can sort of say that Idol is kind of a breeding ground for Eurovision artists or Melodifestivalen acts.
Is it, do you think, a possibility that he will also win it all in Kiev?
I think he has a very good chance. I think he's up against some very stiff competition. I think some of the people that we saw in other selection shows last night were very, very interesting as well. So I don't know. He's got a good chance, but I think he has some very stiff competition and he has a lot of work ahead of him.
Thank you, Ellie. I will stay in Stockholm because we also had someone at the venue, at the Friends Arena. That was Brendan McCann. Brendan, you can tell us what the sphere was like in there during the final.
It was actually quite packed, and we heard rumours that not all the tickets were sold for this year, but at the end they were able to get all tickets sold, and we had a fully packed crowd. It's really nice to see what sort of staging production they can do. Even though this year might not have been one of the best in terms of their own personal staging, it was still quite an accomplishment to see all the lights and the people's hats that have the sparkles on to put on the screens. It's a really lovely view, I have to say.
I have never been at Melodifestivalen, but I have been at Eurovision a couple of times. Is there a difference, or is the vibe and the feeling when you're in the venue a bit the same?
Yes, absolutely. You can tell there's a very big similarity between the way the production is in Sweden as the way it is in Eurovision. Definitely the same sort of technical teams around. You can see the same sort of camera equipment and the overall view of just getting the viewers into the seats and getting the overall show production and going from one straight to the other so you're not waiting too long. It definitely works out, and I think Sweden's definitely mastered the game in terms of that point.
We have just talked to Ellie as well. She's living, of course, in Sweden, and she told us that there's a bit of criticism because Robin Bengtsson won, and he was not the favorite of the Swedish people. You were in there between all these Swedish people as well. How did they react to his winning?
Within the actual arena, you could see there was a lot of love for Nano. I think definitely a lot more than there was for Robin, but I'm thinking his placing of fourth is also an issue that might have been why there wasn't that much fan generation for such an early long in the run-up. But I think overall, the jury did the right decision in getting Robin. I think he's more stage-friendly, and considering the amount of ballads and mid-tempo songs we have in Eurovision this year, Robin's will be a nice addition to the list.
You were back in Stockholm this weekend, mate. Good memories?
It is indeed, but it's not the same. Seeing that Euro Club empty, it's just pure stone and walkway now. It's a completely different view, but it's good to be back anyways.
Will we probably go back there again next year? In other words, do you think Robin Bengtsson is a contender to win in Kiev?
That's a good question. Honestly, I don't think he is, but I think he's quite well secured a top 10 placing. But at the end of the day, we'll have to see what else is put on the table. There's still a good few songs left to go, and we'll see how the staging and the performances work out in Kiev as well.
Thank you, Brandon. On to Iceland, where we had the final of Sungva Kepnin. In the end, it was a super final between Dadi Frey Petersson and Svala Björkvinsdottir. She, the latter, eventually won the contest with a song which she will perform in English in Kiev called Paper. Norway also got their song for Kiev, just one final of Melodi Grand Prix this year. And the winning song was Joust with Alexander Wallman and Grab the Moment. Neil McInnes was blogging the show for us on escdaily.com. Do you think Norway made a good choice, Neil?
It's an interesting choice for Norway, really. Up-tempo, funky, quite cool, very modern. So, yeah, I'm kind of happy with the result in Norway. The quality of songs this year was quite low. So, the bar wasn't set very high. So, I mean, yeah, I'm kind of happy with the Norwegian result.
They didn't, of course, make the final last year. Do you think it will go better this time around for them?
I don't know. It's very difficult to tell. Semi-final 2 is looking quite difficult at the moment, so Norway could either stand out or just get completely lost.
They had a couple of interesting songs in the super final as well, with a familiar face, of course. The lead singer of Wigwam, now with his new band Ammunition. That was also a spectacular act.
Yeah, they did really well. I was quite surprised about that, actually, because, I mean, the song was nothing spectacular, but, I mean, the Wrecking Crew, instantly, when you heard it, it sounded like Wigwam. And I mean, it's instantly recognizable. People voted for it. People in Norway must have voted for it based on the name itself. So, yeah, that was weird. But the fan favorite was Elin and the Woods.
Yeah.
Sort of people were going mad for that one. So I'm actually surprised she did as well as she did. I thought the performance was quite boring. But yeah, she was a big favorite on the night. I saw a lot of people tweeting about her.
Yeah, but in the end, it was Joust indeed who won. What's the
Yeah.
appeal of the winning song? What makes it that good that it won the whole competition in Norway?
I think it's just a bit different. I think it's just very modern, and it's quite cool. When I first heard it, I thought this is like a Mike Posner song, something a bit like that. So it's a bit different. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing like it in Eurovision at the moment. It's hard to tell if it'll stand out because it's good, or if it'll get lost because it's not very Eurovision.
Yeah, Norway tried to change things around, of course, after last year. So there were some slight changes in the format. Is that how I can put it correctly?
Yeah, there was. They brought back their international jury, but I mean, there was kind of a lack of transparency, really, because each international jury really only gave it 1 point. And then we weren't really shown how the jury and televoting split was sort of added together. So, I mean, there was like a section where the international juries from each country each gave out 1 single point. However, after that, we weren't given points from the Norwegian audience. It was just kind of, here are the top 4. So, yeah, it was a little bit confusing, but it did sort of add to the event. It felt like an event.
Yeah, and you said in your live blog at escdaily.com also that the whole show, the whole feeling, because you followed the Norwegian final earlier for us in earlier years as well. You said the whole show, the feeling was a bit different.
Yeah, it looked different. I think it sort of went back to its roots a bit. I mean, it felt much older. I mean, the stage looked different, like very different. I mean, in Norway, you always have the big round Oslo Spectrum stage, and it just looked very different this year. It almost looked box-like. It looked, yeah, it was strange. It just did not feel like the Norwegian Melody Grand Prix. It felt like something different.
So there we have it, the last episode of Scout Around, for now at least. We will come with new podcasts and, of course, televised web television talk shows for you, interviews during Eurovision at concert, all kinds of stuff you can find on escdaily.com. But for now, the pre-selection is over. No more national finals. The long wait until the contest in Kiev will begin now awaits us.